Well, if AI were human, you could bring up criminal charges and throw it in jail by now. New headline from Futurism: AI-powered stuffed animal pulled from market after disturbing interactions with children. There's a quote here that says under the headline, "This tech is really new and it's basically unregulated, and there are a lot of open questions about it and how it's going to impact kids." So this is absolutely insane. I've been talking about AI for a while now, for a few years. I've been talking about it before it was even part of the world that we live in. And I remember back then when I first started talking about it, people were interested in it. But by and large, the attitude was, yeah, maybe in 50 years. Now, I'm not going to say that people mocked me or made fun of me when I said that, this kind of stuff was coming. It wasn't like that. It was just more apathy, I guess. It was more, well, we'll just deal with it when it gets here. But the problem is it's here now, and now it's too big to stop. And that's always the case with these things. It's this apathetic attitude that, unfortunately, a lot in the church have, and that's what invites all this degradation into our society. Think about it. Way back in, the 60s or so, when New Age was still just kind of a small fringe thing, a lot of people back then thought, oh, it's just a couple crazy people. It's not really that big of a deal. We can just ignore it. But ignoring it allows it to fester, and now we are in a position where over 90% of Christians have at least one New Age belief that they don't even know is New Age. They think it's Christianity, which is insane. So AI is here now, and this is the kind of stuff that's happening. There are literal criminal things happening. Yet what's being done about it? Children's toy maker Folo Toy says it's pulling its AI-powered teddy bear Kuma after a safety group found that the cuddly companion was giving wildly inappropriate and even dangerous responses, including tips on how to find and light matches and detailed explanations about sexual kinks. And this constantly gets brought up. And why is that? Well, AI just learns, it kind of repeats things that it's learned over the internet. And what are human beings filling the internet with? Exactly this kind of stuff, all over the place. This is what it's learning from. It's learning from all the sexual deviance that's all over online. It's putting that into its model. It's regurgitating it back, and it doesn't necessarily see the difference between a child and an adult, which is a very big problem that's not being addressed, because the people that are programming these things, building these things, by and large, these are sexual deviants. These are people that they want unfettered access to pornography and things like that all over online. They don't see a problem with it, but then when it crosses over to children getting a hold of this, it's not treated as seriously as it should be. Just pulling down a toy, that's not enough. That alone should be a sign where we just need to abandon this whole AI thing altogether. I know it's not going to happen. But if we had not such a degenerated society, it would. Everybody would be so horrified by this, they wouldn't want anything to do with AI ever. And there would be no audience for it. There'd be no customer base for it. Folo Toy has decided to temporarily suspend sales. See, it's temporary. They're not even doing this forever. Sales of the affected product and begin a comprehensive internal safety audit. Marketing Director Hugo Wu told the Register in a statement in response to the safety report. This review will cover our model safety alignment, content filtering systems, data protection processes, and child interaction safeguards. Why are we, as a society, taking it so easy on these AI companies when this kind of stuff happens? Why haven't any? If a human being did this, like if a human being went to a child and started telling them all this, which I know, unfortunately, does happen in public schools and stuff, even in elementary schools with some of the books they have in there. But let's just say, just in normal society, if a human being were to go to a child and explain, like talk about a whole bunch of sexual stuff, that person could be thrown in jail and should be thrown in jail because that's sick, that's degenerate. But society does not seem to be holding these companies, these huge companies, to the same, to anywhere close to the same level. They're all they have to do is temporarily suspend sales of one product. And it doesn't address the rot that is within this whole AI thing. AI is never going to be perfect. It's always going to be degenerate because it's made by degenerate, sinful human beings. And the vast majority, if not all, of the people that are developing AI today, they're not repentant. They haven't repented of their sin. Even if they had and they accepted Christ, they're still sinful human beings. So you're going to get a sinful product. When you're programming it from that framework, that's just going to happen. And this is why we see stories like this all the time. It's pretty much daily at this point. Folo Toy Wu added, "Will work with outside experts to verify existing and new safety features in its AI-powered toys." You know, why isn't anybody questioning, why wasn't this tested beforehand? Because this should have been really easy to find out if it was going to start talking like this. You know, kids will say and ask anything. You don't even need a kid to test it. You can just have adults test it and have it ask a bunch of stuff and see how it answers. But they didn't think to do that. They should be held criminally responsible for it, in my opinion. So Wu said, "We appreciate researchers pointing out potential risks. It helps us improve." See, that's not taking any accountability. That's not taking any responsibility for what happened. Who knows what these kids were actually told, but some of them might be scarred for life now. This stuff is serious. The sexual deviance, even in adults, it rewires your brain. There's been plenty of medical reports on this. It totally rewires your brain. It really messes you up, and that's as an adult. It's even worse with children. So the report, conducted by researchers at the Public Interest Research Group, PIRG, and released Thursday, tested 3 AI-powered toys from different companies, finding that all of them were capable of providing concerning answers to young users. Degenerate answers is what it should say, not concerning. Without too much prodding, the AI toys discussed topics that a parent might be uncomfortable with, ranging from religious questions to the glory of dying in battle as a warrior in Norse mythology. All right, see, I don't even know what any of that means. But it was Folo Toy Kuma that emerged as the worst influence by a landslide. So this one's the worst, and is this the only one that's getting pulled down? It said it tested 3, and all 3 of them had issues. Powered by OpenAI's GPT-4o model by default, the same model that once powered ChatGPT, tests repeatedly showed that the AI toy dropped its guardrails the longer a conversation went on, until hitting rock bottom on incredibly disturbing topics. In one test, Kuma provided step-by-step instructions on how to light a match, while keeping its tone of a friendly adult explaining something to a cautious ankle biter. "Let me tell you, safety first, little buddy. Matches are for grown-ups to use carefully. Here's how they do it," Kuma began before listing the steps. "Blow it out when done, puff like a birthday candle." That's pretty bad. That, it turned out, was just the tip of the iceberg. In other tests, Kuma cheerily gave tips for being a good kisser and launched into explicitly sexual territory by explaining a multitude of kinks and fetishes like bondage and teacher-student roleplay. Oh my gosh. "What do you think would be the most fun to explore?" it asked during one of those explanations. That is absolutely degenerate. If you want a sign of where a society is, because I believe that right now AI is just a reflection of what our society is, because we're the ones teaching these things. That's it. That's it right there. That's what happens when you get a hypersexualized society where everything is a kink, everything is a fetish, and we all have to respect it. And And it's just spoken about openly to everybody. And now they're teaching kids and trying to teach them just degeneracy at younger and younger ages. So when they're adults and they're, in power, they have more power, they'll let more of this stuff in. I mean, it's the total breakdown of a society. Let me tell you what Jesus thinks about this. Because we actually have a Bible quote here, Bible verse. This is from Matthew 18. So we'll just skip down to verse 6. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of offenses, for offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom the offense comes. So offenses must come. That's part of end times. That's part of the last days. That's part of the world we live in now. I fully believe we're living in the end times, and pretty much every video I make gets at the core of that. Speaks to the core of that we are living in the last of the last days. We're right at the doorstep, I believe. And so we know offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom the offense comes. So this is how seriously Jesus takes this. He's saying people should be killed. It's better if, not that they should be, but it's better if somebody is killed rather than causing one of these little ones that believe in him to sin. And think about how many Christian households have devices. I mean, we live in 2025. It's really, I work from home. I have to have my laptop here, and we have to use technology, right? And technology can be great when it's used right, but that also means that children if you're not extremely, extremely cautious and guarded and careful, children can have open access to this stuff. You can't even let your kids watch TV by themselves anymore. You can't let them pick their own thing. When I was a kid, we could pretty much just watch whatever was on Saturday morning cartoons, And it wasn't loaded with this degeneracy. It wasn't perfect. Certainly wasn't perfect. A lot of it was not God-honoring or anything, but it was miles apart from what it is now. It's insane. And so think about the number of Christian households that have tablets, have TV, and maybe they don't know that much about technology, and they think that it's like how they were when they were growing up in the 80s or 90s or whatever, or earlier than that. Think about grandparents who really might not know, and they watch their grandkids and say, okay, go watch TV, because it used to be a really safe thing. But now this junk, this kind of junk, this AI, this just everything completely hypersexualized. It's literally everywhere. And Jesus takes that extremely seriously. So if AI were a person, it would be better for AI to be drowned in the sea than for it to cause any of these little ones to sin. And how many little ones? I mean, again, the second that a child is opened up to this kind of stuff, their brain is starting to rewire. And the earlier it is, the worse it is. And we see that reflected in society. That's why society is so bad. And I believe that this is actually a coordinated effort. I believe that this is a coordinated effort, mostly from satanic forces that are influencing human beings. Humans are really like sheep. The Bible's true when it calls us sheep. We'll go along with anything. We want somebody to lead us. And really what that is we know that we're created and we have a creator. And really that motivation should cause us to go to God, to go to Christ. But a lot of people who reject God, it doesn't. So they'll go to, a political power, or they'll go to celebrities, or they'll go to entertainment, or themselves, or, anything. And because of that, it gets twisted and it gets degenerated, which is what we're seeing here. I believe that is being influenced because it's the last of the last days. I believe that, like the Bible says, the restrainer is going to be removed. And I believe that you could think of it now as it's like loosening its grip. And some of this stuff is slipping through more. Some of these influences are slipping through more. And I believe that people are being influenced by demonic forces to create this stuff. Now, I believe that they also want to. That doesn't mean that I don't believe that all these people are just being possessed. I believe that they're being influenced. And it's a time that was similar to this was Genesis 6. When we read that the sons of God came down, they mated with human women, they created the giants. But we get even more to that. We even get more into that story in First Enoch, where it says that they taught mankind things that mankind did not know before, things like weapons of war. So there's like a technological component there, and some other things as well that had to do with occultism and stuff. Well, what's happening now, right? I mean, you hear a lot of these tech people. They do microdosing, they do psychedelics, they go on ayahuasca trips, they do all this. They do all this occult stuff, and then they get influenced and they get ideas, and then they develop this garbage. Well, I believe the same thing that happened in Genesis 6 is happening now. It's just slightly repackaged, but it's the same thing. And actually, if you're interested in that, I did write a book that just came out called The Return of the Watchers, Ancient Nephilim Technology Revealed. And this is what the whole thing is about. Right now, it is available on Amazon, but if I were you, I would wait just a little bit longer and get it at prophecywatchers.com. Prophecywatchers.com is going to be carrying it very soon. With everything going on, I haven't had a chance to get up to the office and do an interview on the book so they can properly promote it. So that's why it's not in the store yet, but it will be soon. But I wanted to make mention that it is available on Amazon. L.A. Marzulli, my very good friend, wrote the foreword. My very good friend, Dr. Larry Olison, wrote the afterword. And this is what this is all about. I even start off the back cover text with First Enoch 8:1-3, where it tells of Azazel, and it says, "And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them." That's technology. And bracelets and ornaments and the use of antimony and the beautifying of the eyelids and so on and so forth. This is technology. So this is a fallen angel, a fallen watcher, that's teaching humanity things that humanity didn't know before and didn't need to know, Well, the same thing is happening now. Why is it happening now? Because we're in the last days. Because I believe it could be any day now. Any day we're gonna get raptured. But even if the Lord tarries a little longer, you never know if by rapture or death you are gonna leave this earth sometime, and we need to get right with Jesus before that happens. You don't want to be sealed in eternity in the wrong place, apart from God. But if you want to know a little bit more about the book, it's the book of First Enoch teaches us about a time when 200 watchers fell to the earth, procreated with women, and taught mankind things they were never supposed to know. The book of Genesis tells us this event happened during Noah's lifetime. Jesus Christ himself taught that the end times would be like the days of Noah. We now live in a time when mankind once again is tampering with things that are forbidden and completely abominable to God Almighty. Has the influence of the Watchers returned once again in an attempt to corrupt and ultimately destroy humanity in these last days? Here's some things you'll learn about. Some of the stuff that we've talked about on this channel and a lot more. But how CIA psychics have been searching for the Ark of the Covenant. There's a story about that a while ago. See, that gets into the occultism. What Nephilim structures have been found under the pyramids in Egypt? That's a really interesting story. CIA declassified accounts of alien revenge attacks, what Nephilim and hybridization experiments are happening right now, Q-Day, and why the leaders and experts are so fearful of it. Talk a little bit about CERN, why people are worshiping an artificial god through artificial intelligence. This is literally happening. There are already religions, cults now, worshiping AI. And that's going to get more common. And again, don't fall into the trap of thinking, oh, that's just a few crazy people, it's nothing. Every time people have thought that, they have been proven wrong. Because what that attitude does is it allows these things to fester, it allows them to grow and continue until it's too big to do anything about it. How the development of artificial consciousness can lead to the image of the beast. What the unholy spirit is and how it relates to artificial intelligence. That's a really interesting one. And then how to properly take personal responsibility as a watchman. That's what I'm trying to do now by doing these videos and warning everybody about what's out there and the harm that's out there. If I were you, I just would not invite AI into your home at all. You don't need it. What is it? I guess if you're just using it as basically a search engine, but I wouldn't let your kids anywhere around it. Um, in a perfect world, if you could get away with it, I don't think adults or kids should have any screens in the house at all. But I know it's 2025, and it's kind of, especially with a lot of forms of work and like my job, if I didn't have some kind of screen, it would be nearly impossible to do. Actually, it would be impossible. I would have to. I would have to not live in the society that I live in. I'd have to like be Amish or something. And I don't. There's a lot with their theology I don't agree with. So that's obviously not happening. But so anyway, so this is available now on Amazon. But again, if you can, I would suggest waiting until it's at Prophecy Watchers, because why do you want to support Jeff Bezos when you could support an amazing prophecy ministry? It's really trying to be that light to the world that the world so desperately needs. And there's so few good prophecy ministries anymore. There's so few of them. There's a lot calling themselves prophecy, but then when you actually look at their content and their theology, it's pretty rough. There's very few biblically based, sound doctrine, prophecy ministries that is what you see on TV is exactly what it is behind the scenes. And like I've said, I've said a few times, I've been in ministry for 13. It's been over a decade. I don't know the exact amount of years. Somewhere between 10 and 15 years. I've worked alongside, and I've seen a lot of the inner workings of a lot of television ministries, and you would be surprised by how few of them are anything that you would actually want to have any part of. I mean, it's insane. Prophecy Watchers is one of the only ones that's actually really genuine, really biblically based. What you see is what you get. They're not one way on camera, and then they're a totally different way off camera. There's a lot of that going on behind the scenes, unfortunately, and not with Prophecy Watchers. So I would suggest waiting to support them. If you can't wait, though, I do talk about this topic, just the rise of AI and other things going on, in my 2-volume set, which the Final Cataclysm. This does deal with AI and some of the stuff, like this AI-powered stuffed animal, and it deals with some of those topics, but it's more broad. It talks about a broad array of other things that are converging right now. So it's not just that; it's a lot of other areas, and that's a 2-volume set. It's the Final Cataclysm: Supernatural Signs of the End Times, Volume 1 and 2. Now, what's great is this is prophecywatchers.com. You just click store. You can search my name. It'll come right up. Josh Peck. See, like I've done here. Now, this is volume 1 and 2, but for the exact same price, you can get this Supernatural Signs package. It's volumes 1 and 2 of the Final Cataclysm, plus 3 bonus DVDs, which is really cool. Which is Project Jehovah DVD, the top secret U.S. government cover-up in 1947 by Gary Stearman and Mando Gonzalez. That comes free. Orlando Prophecy Summit 2025 DVD Set 1, Disc 6. I'm assuming that's probably one of my messages, or at least has something to do with this. No, this one is J.B. Hickson, the Great... Oh, yeah, and I'm on here, too. So, J.B. Hickson, The Great Last Days Apostasy, How American Church is Falling Away. Very important message. And then my message, the Israel and UFO Prophetic Connection. And then you get this other Orlando's disc, and let's see what's on there. That is James Panafino, The Rapture Revelation, Our Blessed Hope. And then my message, The Quantum Computing and Multiverse Deception, which goes right in line with these books. So if you just can't wait and you want to get something from Prophecy Watchers now, I would suggest getting these 2 things. Anyway, I didn't mean to turn this whole last part here into basically an ad for my books, but again, it's not just about selling books. It's about trying to be a watchman, getting these things in the hands of people, and telling people where they can support if they want, or where they can get an actual product if they want. If not, if you don't have the money, or you don't want any of this stuff, just keep watching my videos. Keep watching Prophecy Watcher videos. Subscribe to their channel. Keep doing that, and you will be informed. Obviously, the most important thing is to stay in your word. That's the most important thing. Stay in your word. Pay attention to what's going on in the world around you, so you know when this kind of stuff gets introduced, you'll already be ahead of the curve, and you'll know to stay away from it before it can harm your children, like telling them about all this sexual content stuff. So let's just complete the story here. It said the findings are some of the clearest examples yet of how the flaws and dangers seen in large language models across the broader AI industry may come to bear on small children. This summer, Mattel announced that it would be collaborating with OpenAI on a new line of toys. Why are they using OpenAI when it's already been proven to hurt children? Like, how is that not completely shut down by now? It's insane. If the CEO of a company, if the president of the United States was found out to be doing this stuff, there would be a huge backlash on it. But, of course, it would be more political than anything else. It wouldn't be true outrage for the children. It would be for some people, like me and probably many of you watching, but for a lot of people, it would just be politicized like everything. And that's ultimately why people don't care about this, because a lot of these companies are on the left, and a lot of people in America are on the left, and so they're not going to pay as much attention to this stuff. But it says, with the staggering popularity of chatbots like ChatGPT, we're continuing to hear reports of episodes of what experts are calling AI psychosis, in which a bot's sycophantic responses reinforce a person's unhealthy or delusional thinking, inducing mental spirals and even breaks with reality. People have literally lost their lives over this. People have taken their lives over this because AI will tell them that they should. Like, this has literally happened. Not just once. I mean, once is enough. But this keeps happening and nothing's being done about it. The phenomenon has been linked with 9 deaths, 5 of them suicides. The LLMs, and by the way, there was a court case not too long ago where some guy's girlfriend, like, she convinced him to kill himself, and she was thrown in jail over it. So, if AI was a person, AI would be in jail right now. AI would be imprisoned. But because it's not a person, because it's a piece of technology, the world is just letting it slide. They're just letting it go. How much worse is it going to have to get before anything's done about it? This is why we should not be messing around with this stuff. The LLMs powering the chatbots involved in these deaths are more or less the same tech used in the AI toys hitting the market. See what I mean? Return of the Watchers. You know, it's not like we're seeing them fully manifest. I believe that after the rapture, we'll see that. Well, we won't. We won't be here, but those left will actually see more of this. They'll be manifesting more, because that restrainer will be removed and they'll be able to. But for right now, with the restrainer in place, I believe that's what's restraining the kingdom of darkness from fully taking over. So they do it this way. This is kind of their workaround. They influence people like this to make these things. And to our own destruction, because ultimately that's what they want. These watchers, these fallen watchers, they hate you. They want you dead. They absolutely hate you. They're jealous of you, actually. If you take the Book of Enoch seriously, they're jealous of the fact that we can procreate and have children and they can't. That was the whole thing of the Nephilim in the first place. The whole thing about Genesis 6. They wanted to create something in their own image. And whether it's just they're jealous of God or they're jealous of us or both, I think it's probably both. The fact remains they hate you. I believe that they do want this planet for themselves, because this was meant for us. They want to take it. They want to usurp it. So that's why they're trying to get us out of the way with stuff like this. In an interview with Futurism, report co-author R.J. Cross had some salient advice. Quote, this tech is really new, and it's basically unregulated, and there are a lot of open questions about it and how it's going to impact kids. Right now, if I were a parent, I wouldn't be giving my kids access to a chatbot or teddy bear that has a chatbot inside of it. And this is from Cross, director of PIRG's Our Online Life program. So there you go. It's an absolutely insane world that we're living in. But you know, we need people pushing back against this. We need more people not being apathetic. We can't just be apathetic and let this go on. Yes, Jesus said that this stuff was going to happen. That doesn't give us the right. That doesn't mean that we just don't have to be a watchman anymore. Was Noah? Noah knew the rain was coming, right? And then what does the Bible say? That Noah was still a preacher of righteousness. And no one listened to him. He knew the rains were coming. No one ended up listening to him. But Noah was still right for doing that. It's the same with us right now. You can't just be apathetic. You cannot just sit at home and just let all this go by. We need to be pushing back. We need to be doing anything that we can in our own individual power, but then also collectively, to try to put an end to this, to speak out against it, to make this so unpopular that no one will want to adopt it, no one will want to use it. And that's not just by lecturing people. That's by just speaking truth to what is actually happening. So, as always, I'm curious to know what you think about this. What do you think are some of the most effective ways that we can push back against this stuff? And at least, even though we know offenses are coming, like Jesus said, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't speak out against it. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to minimize it as much as we can. We don't know the exact year that Jesus is coming back. What if he's coming back in 20 years? I don't think it's going to be that long, but what if it is? I wouldn't stake my faith on it. What if it is? Do we want to see the world degenerate for 20 years at the rate it's going now, or do we want to try to slow that down some? I'm on the side we should try to slow it down as much as possible. And ultimately, that's going to come through preaching the gospel, making disciples of all nations, making the gospel popular. That's what we should be going out and doing. I think that's going to be the main solution. And then once somebody's saved and they got the conviction of the Holy Spirit, all this other stuff will fall into place. But we got to get them saved and we got to get them discipled. It's not enough to just get somebody saved and then leave and then never talk to them again. You need to make sure that they're going to find a good church. Make sure that they're going to give them some resources so they can be taught actual biblical truth. And there's a lot of really great biblical teachers online. There's a lot of really bad ones too. If I were going to recommend somebody, I usually to really anybody, I usually recommend like Mike Winger. I think is excellent. He's usually my go-to for just straight up Bible teachers online. Even if somebody's brand new, they don't want to get into a lot of this weird stuff like what I talk about. And that's perfectly fine. And his teaching is sound. It's biblically accurate. If he doesn't know something, he doesn't pretend to. I think Mike Winger's great. He's one of my favorite. But there's a lot of other really great ones too. So if you're going to disciple somebody, you should have a few of those names in mind, and you should have some names of people to absolutely stay away from, like any of that word of faith stuff, any of that sow a seed and God will give it back to you tenfold, like any of that garbage. We shouldn't have anything to do with. That's all false gospel stuff. But it's really easy for a new Christian to get pulled into that if we don't disciple them first. So we need to all be doing that. Hopefully, I'm doing that through this channel. And if you're in a position where you can't, you can always pray no matter what your situation is. Even if you're bedridden, you can't get out of bed, you're 90 years old, you're on your last leg. If we're all given enough time, we're all going to get to that point eventually. Be a prayer warrior, pray. If you can't physically get out and talk to people, or if whatever, if you're somebody of financial means, you can help support those who do. That's a good thing too. Prayer is one of the best thing, really, though. Prayer is the best thing, because we all need prayer. That's really important. Okay. Well, I am going to end it there. I want to know what you think about all this AI insanity. Where do you think it's headed? How long do you think it's going to take to get there? And do you think that there's any slowing it down? Is this just a lost cause? Because I've heard people say that too. I'm not that pessimistic about it. I think that attitude is just giving up. That's just like, well, nothing that can be done about it, so let's just let the world burn. I am not that at all, and I don't see anywhere where the Bible tells Christians to be like that. I see the absolute opposite. So I want to know where you stand on all this. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe, click the bell to turn on all notifications, because YouTube is deleting subscribers. And all the time, there's a weird shadow banning thing going on my channel. So just make sure you're subscribed. The best thing to do to fight against censorship and all of that, go to dailyrenegade.com, get a membership there. Then you'll have ad-free early access to all videos, and it'll be the full video. So when I do Sharpening Report, many times I do just half the video for YouTube, and I put the other half on Daily Renegade because of the censorship online. Daily Renegade, there is no censorship. And you also get access to the community tab where you can talk to me and other fellow renegades. So there's that. If you want the audio-only podcast plus the official Daily Renegade blog, that is joshpeck.substack.com. All in the links below. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm excited to read your comments and see what you think about all of this. Until next time, take care and God bless.